And I think it's a great opportunity for prospective students when they come to realize this is a top flight engineering program. They have the ability, if they are resilient, if they work together as a team, to achieve really any level of success that they want.
Welcome to Being the Change, the official podcast of James Madison University, brought to you by Madison Magazine. Each episode brings you stories of how members of the JMU community combine intellect with action to live lives of purpose and meaning. That's being the change.
What's up, JMU? Welcome to Being the Change. Andy Perrine here. In this episode, we're going to talk about the incredible rise of the JMU Engineering program, and we're going to tell the story of that incredible rise through a really fun and interesting story. In the spring, JMU's NASA student launch team came in first in a national competition. They beat teams from MIT. They beat teams that you would think would take home the first place, and JMU brought it in first. And with us is actually the team leader of that student launch team, Grant Whitlow. He's now an alum. He's recently graduated in class of 2025. Grant, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Well, Grant came over the mountain. He's got a job at Northrop Grumman over in Charlottesville, and he's already prospering. Also with us is on the engineering faculty is Dr. Stephen Woodruff. He was the faculty advisor for the NASA student launch team. Dr. Woodruff, welcome.
Thank you.
And also with us is Jeff Tang. Dr. Jeff Tang is interim dean of the College of Integrated Science and Engineering, and he'll provide us some broader perspectives after we go through this fun story of the NASA student launch team. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me back on.
Jeff is a frequent flyer on the podcast for lots of different topics. Now let's start with Grant. Grant, tell us about the NASA student launch competition. What did it involve, and how did you guys get organized?
Yeah, absolutely. So the NASA Student Launch Challenge is a 9-month engineering design competition where teams design, build, and fly a high-powered rocket containing an experimental payload for NASA. Mm-hmm. So a lot of fun. This is our team was the third year of JMU fielding teams for the competition, but NASA had this competition going for around 25 years now, and there's also a team competing this year, which would be the fourth. So excited to follow along with their success. But the competition is very unique in the fact that the payload challenge changes every year. Oh. So it's very dynamic, and our payload experiment on our team was a experimental payload which measured in-flight dynamics for simulated stem knots. So throughout the flight, we measured acceleration, temperature through launch, through parachute deployment, through landing, and through the descent phase of the rocket. Measured temperature of the landing site, and then disseminated that data through APRS radio to a NASA ground station. So really, really cool experiment that we got to do this year in conjunction with building a high-powered rocket. And
you had to build everything, right?
Correct. There's no kits involved.
Right.
Everything is designed, built, and flown, by our team. Completely novel project. And
one of the other things that makes JMU's victory unique is that a lot of these other teams are like 20, 30 people, and the JMU team was eight guys, right? Or guys and girls, right?
Yeah, guys and girls, eight people, but our support was much greater than that. Thanks to Dr. Woodruff, the rest of the Department of Engineering SIZE, our team mentor, Chuck Neff, from Valley Aerospace team, all the administrative folks that were able to help us throughout. The 8 folks on the team definitely did the engineering and the designing, but all the support to make it happen was critical as well.
One of the things that I think is really expressive of the uniqueness of the engineering program at JMU is that it's project based and it's very team oriented. Dr. Woodruff, how did the dynamics of the team allow each of the students to fully realize their role, no matter what it was, like avionics or I'm not going to use any other aeronautical terms.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, so the team is broken up into different basic groups. We have structures, we have avionics, which is in charge of simulation and how the rocket actually flies. We have an outreach program, so students have to go out to elementary schools, middle schools, work with the students with basic rocket stuff. We also have project managers, project leads, all this group, and they all have to work together.
Right.
So that's the interesting team dynamic part. And our curriculum really emphasizes teamwork,
Right.
the best practices for doing that, starting from the first engineering class they take. So this is something they practice throughout their whole curriculum, and the capstone project is really the culmination of all that.
And the capstone project, I'd like to dive into that a little bit more. This is a general engineering program. It's not specific like chemical or electrical. It's a general engineering program. But the capstone kind of allows students to specialize based on what kind of project they get into. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yep. So every professor in our department proposes a different capstone. Usually it's aligned with what their background is. And students get to pick from a variety of projects. So we have something like a stream restoration project that Brad Strebig coordinates. We also have other projects involving flight. So we have a drone simulation and drone building project. Along with the rockets, we have just all sorts of things spanning all the different disciplines and also kind of integrating them together.
That's great. Well, Grant, the team worked together. You had 9 months. You were competing against the other teams just to procure elements that had to go into the rocket, right?
Yeah, definitely. The supply chain issues definitely did not, were not exempt from our competition.
Well, and I heard that your persistence with suppliers was one of the winning elements of the team.
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge. This was, I think, the biggest year with the most teams that NASA actually fielded for the competition. So with that, as you can imagine, there's probably not a ton of amateur high power rocketry suppliers out there.
Right.
So everybody is, subject to the same requirements, which pushes them into, sort of in some ways similar designs and similar materials. So
right.
Procuring those parts was a unique challenge for the team. Well,
tell us some of the other challenges that the team faced as you were proceeding through this 9 months.
Yeah, there were certainly a lot of them. One of the challenges for our team was at the end of our last demonstration flight before we were going to NASA. It was a great successful flight up in Monterey, Virginia. Our rocket ascended, descended, disseminated the flight data, reached the altitude that we were looking for. It was a picture perfect flight. So as we're getting ready to go out to the launch field to retrieve our rocket and bring it back, a gust of wind actually, comes through the mountain. Monterey is I wouldn't say an ideal place to have to launch a rocket, but that's what we were at. So a large gust of wind came through the valley there and actually reinflated our parachute while the rocket was on the ground. Picked our rocket up and drug it, 50 feet or so.
You're chasing after it?
Yeah. Well, we were trying to chase after it, but the field we didn't have clearance to go back into the field. It was a safety thing. So, that actually created some damage to our rocket and fins that we had to make some last minute repairs on, and moving forward in the competition, because the next launch would have been in Huntsville, or was in Huntsville, with NASA. So we had to make some last minute, repairs that were, relatively invasive to get our rocket back on track and flight ready.
Now, describe for us in Huntsville, what was the scene?
Huntsville was an incredible trip. It was a week-long trip. So get there to Huntsville, get set up, and the beginning of the week is a lot of tours, a lot of interviews from different folks from NASA, kind of speaking about the project. So certainly some of the project sponsors also had folks there looking to recruit and also share about their businesses, et cetera.
Sure.
So there was a lot of that stuff at the very beginning of the week. And as the week progressed, you have several rocket safety checks that we have to bring our rocket to the center, have NASA safety staff look over everything that we've done, look over our epoxy joints, look over make sure everything's bolted down, everything's ready to go in flight, because it really is a pretty serious thing. These rockets are high powered. There's a lot of people there at the launch site. You're talking hundreds of people there at the launch site, over 50 rockets that are going to be volleyed up that day. So
how do these rockets go?
Give or take 3,500 feet to 5,500 feet, 6,000 feet. So, most of these rockets are about a mile in the atmosphere.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, this kind of event allows the JMU engineering students to build connections and network, and also it basically gives you the beginning of a portfolio. So how did you and the team interact with other folks down in Huntsville in a way that helped you get a leg up?
Yeah, one of the fun parts and one of the highlights of the trip was actually the tabling event that all the teams had. So a large convention center, all the different universities brought their rockets to the convention center, and our team got to go around and not only share about our project, our rocket, some of the design decisions that we made, the unique pieces of our rocket, but we got to visit some of the other schools and network with their students as well. I know one of our teammates actually, made several connections and friends that he was able to, reach back out to after the competition and stuff as well. So that was really cool. There was, several recruiters and different folks from industry there as well, looking for talent. So great opportunity there.
And I remember Virginia Tech was part of the competition. How did it feel beating them?
Yeah, great in-state rivalry there.
Right.
Yeah, it was especially one with a sort of a storied engineering past and history. It was pretty cool to defeat them and a lot of other schools, that household names that you think of when you think engineering. Sure.
Well, it might not have gotten as much notice as the football win against Virginia Tech, but it's still just as meaningful, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I know one of the funny things about that is I actually, I'm a huge JMU football fan. I can count on one hand how many JMU football games I missed in my time at JMU.
Good man.
And I listened to a lot of podcasts with the coaching staff.
Sure.
And one of the things that I implemented in our team meetings was a quote of the day. And it's one of the and the team started to look forward to the quote of the day every week, because they love to see what I came up with for that week and how I would try to motivate in a given situation.
Yeah.
And I would pull from Bob Chesney, the JMU football coach.
He's very
frequently.
He's quotable.
He's very quotable.
Right.
He's very quotable.
Right.
I would pull quotes from him frequently, and one of my favorite quotes from him that I used was, "The greatest indicator of success is well-managed failure."
Nice.
So I used that when we were going through the supplier issues, because I was trying to motivate the team of this issue isn't out of our control fully. We can pivot. We can call suppliers. We got to do whatever it takes to try to proceed and manage or work our way through this. And that, I think that was motivating for all the team to come up with alternatives and still move forward. So
learn how to fail forward.
Exactly.
Well, one of the things that I think also is really special about the JMU Engineering program as it's developed over the last 17 years is just how close the students are with the faculty. Dr. Woodruff, you spent a lot of time with the team, didn't you?
Yeah, we met every week, and beyond that, they would come to my office, ask questions. Along with myself, my students will go to other faculty. If I don't know the answer to a problem, I can point them in the direction of someone else who most likely does know the answer.
Well, and I think, and I want to bring Interim Dean Tang in on the conversation. In the 17 years that this program has been in operation at JMU, it's now nationally recognized. It was ranked 29th in the country by U.S. News and World Report in just 17 years. That's a phenomenal rise.
Oh, there's no question about it. I tend to be a ranking skeptic. I will acknowledge that. But what I think it reflects is a recognition that when the program was created, we created it in a smart way. The idea would be to have this, what we think of as a general engineering program. I tend to think of it as a multidisciplinary engineering program with a focus on sustainable design that gets students involved from the beginning. So it's common for engineering programs to have hands-on activities, but in some programs, that waits longer than I think it ought to, and our faculty think it ought to. They get involved from day one, right? They're getting involved from their first year doing design. The failure, learning from failure, well, there's no better way than to start when you don't know a whole lot, have some experiences failing, and really getting that sort of hands-on experience combined with what Dr. Woodruff mentioned, which is a lot of faculty-student interaction, right? That because we don't have a graduate program and the department has one undergraduate program, that is the focus of the program, period. So when you come to JMU Engineering as a student, you know you are going to have the full attention of the faculty members, and those faculty members are highly qualified. They do their own scholarship. They can incorporate students into their scholarly work. But that is their focus, not grad students, not focus on publication. I mean, they do that, but that's not their primary focus. Their primary focus is to make sure that our graduates, when they leave, are really well prepared as engineers and as people ready to go into the workplace, be citizens. I think you heard some of what makes us special in Grant's answers, right? It wasn't just the equations, the technical design. It's the perseverance. It's the resilience. It's the learning from the frustration, going after the suppliers and saying, no, we really need this. Sometimes that's the difference in a successful project and an unsuccessful project. And I think because we have that strong focus throughout the program, and always have, I think that is one of the great strengths. And the reason why our graduates are in very high demand is because when they leave, they don't just do calculations, they solve problems and all different aspects of those problems. And that's something I'm really proud of. So it's not a surprise that we would get acknowledged for doing really, really quality work. It's not 100% unique, but when you add up all the different elements, it's really hard to find a program quite like ours.
Well, and from what I've heard, that a lot of times, if you graduate with a chemical engineering or electrical engineering degree, you're going to report to a JMU student who had a general engineering degree, right?
We have a whole lot of stories of that, of our graduates very quickly moving into leadership positions. Because they have that broader view, because they have exposure to different engineering disciplines, they can work with teams of different engineering, graduates of different kinds of engineering programs, and they can see some of the connections. And so our students, our graduates go on to lots of different kinds of opportunities, and some are Northrop Grumman's, but some go into entrepreneurship on their own. It's a really wide variety.
And that's sort of been typical of the ISAT student too. They leave with an entrepreneurial spirit.
There is a way in which the Integrated Science and Technology program kind of, I won't say it necessarily was infused into engineering, but I think the success of that program emboldened us when we proposed the engineering program initially to do something that was a little bit different, because we had the confidence that we know that if we do it well, it will succeed. Now, engineering is a very different program, though. I want to make sure that it's clear. The Integrated Science and Technology program is a broader one. The engineering program from the beginning was designed to be an engineering program. It's always been ABET accredited. It is always focused on producing students who, if they choose to go into engineering careers, are well prepared to do so. And I think we have a track record of not all students end up doing what you'd think of as traditional engineering careers, and that's fine. But if they want to, we give them the foundation to be able to do that and do that at a high level.
Well, and also the program has developed in new ways in the last 17 years, and you've introduced some new concentrations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, the capstone has always been an opportunity for students who, they come into a general engineering program, but sometimes they have particular interests. Now, they may come in having those interests, but oftentimes they might not know what those are. It's pretty tough as an 18-year-old coming into a university to know what all the different disciplines in engineering are, but they may find a passion during their time in one of their classes. And so we always had the opportunity to take technical electives, which allow you to dive deeper and give you the depth that you want to have in some of those engineering discipline areas. But the capstone project has always also been an opportunity to take that deeper dive, get to know something about it. But we also realized that there were students who wanted more than that. And so we introduced concentrations that allow the students to take collections of classes that all have a theme in certain areas. And so we developed concentrations in electromechanical, in the sort of civil environmental area, and then sort of geo-environmental. And Dr. Woodruff is I think, in a better position to describe some of what those concentrations entail. I will note that it doesn't change the nature of our program. It still is a multidisciplinary program, and we want some of that breadth. But for students who have the passion and the interest to take a deeper dive, we now have a more formal mechanism for that to kind of show up on a transcript and for them to get some of the deeper experiences focusing in an area that they're really passionate about.
Well, and it's problem solution kind of curriculum in those areas. Dr. Would you explain in a little bit more depth what Dr. Tang's talking about?
Sure, yeah. So the most popular program we have is the electromechanical program. That is basically combining electrical engineering, computer engineering, and mechanical engineering together. So think things like robotics, automobiles, stuff like that. So that's our most popular program. The next most popular is actually no concentration. So those are students who, for whatever reason, want to do just a general engineering degree, and they're happy with taking a variety of electives to suit whatever needs they have.
Cool.
After that, the most popular one is the civil and environmental engineering one. So that's for students who want to work on structural design, water management, all that sort of stuff that's embodied in that.
Well, and how do these new concentrations allow our students to attain the skills that will allow them to keep up with things that are rapidly changing, especially in engineering because of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so we really strongly emphasize self-learning. So that's one of the student outcomes that ABET wants us to teach, and we really focus on that. Is we teach them a specific type of tool, but we want them to understand that you're probably not going to use this exact tool, like SolidWorks, for example, but you will use something similar. So we want you to understand the foundation of how that tool works so you can extrapolate it to other things. And on top of that, we want to teach them these transferable skills, professional skills, things like being able to present well, being able to write well, all that stuff. So,
and how are you finding that suiting you at Northrop Grumman, Grant?
Yeah, my job is obviously very different than anything that I studied, here in a classroom, and I can firsthand, speak to the self-learning emphasis of our program that Dr. Woodruff was mentioning, and I know that all of our team can probably understand that as well. None of our team took a rocket building 101 class. None of our team took an aerospace centered class. Right. Yet in a team of 8 engineering students with little to no experience, in 9 months we were able to go toe to toe and defeat the nation's top engineering and aerospace engineering companies. So, or not companies, colleges, universities.
Yeah. What are some of the other schools that were there?
Yeah, classic big engineering schools. Right. You think your MITs, Purdue, Notre Dame, NC State, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Auburn. Yeah, you can go down the list. They're probably there.
What did it feel like? I understand that the rocket landed right between you and the evaluative team. What did it feel like when that happened? And then describe for us when you discovered you won first place.
Yeah, it was a massive sigh of relief. I was just glad that it landed somewhere. It just because where you land in relation to where you take off isn't necessarily a point scored value. It was a rainy day, unfortunately, so all of the launches got pushed back until the very last minute of the live stream and of the launch day, where everyone was launching their rockets in the last hour of the competition. So it was just launch after launch after launch, and we were launching in this muddy field in Huntsville, Alabama, and parts of the field were flooded because of the rain. So I was just glad that it landed, not only in front of us, but just it didn't land in a puddle somewhere and damage anything. Right. So
that's cool. Well, so what's going to become of the rocket?
So that's a great question. We're very proud of this victory.
Of course.
And while it doesn't define the program, it certainly is a notable point where we're getting recognition that we've known for years we deserve. And we anticipate that this will happen in other competitions, not just the Rockerchi team, but in other areas. That being said, it is probably the most notable significant accomplishment of this scale that the program has had.
This is an important university artifact.
Absolutely. And so we have plans that we are going to mount it on a wall in the first floor of the NGO building right outside of where the engineering office is.
Awesome.
And have a little, write up about the success of the team. And I think it's a great opportunity for prospective students when they come to realize this is a top flight engineering program. Right. They have the ability, if they are resilient, if they work together as a team, to achieve really any level of success that they want. And it's just a kind of visual representation of I think, the kind of success of the program. So we're really happy to have the opportunity to show it off a little bit.
Well, Grant, it's kind of like a football trophy. The rocket itself, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot cooler in some ways.
Me too. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure to chat with you all. Dr. Jeff Tang, Dr. Stephen Woodruff, and Grant Whitlow, we wish you the best. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. All right, remember, listeners, if you've got any ideas for other episodes of Being the Change, you can reach us at beingthechange@jmu.edu. Until next episode, go Dukes. Since the recording of this episode, Grady Dixon has been named the next dean for the College of Integrated Science and Engineering at James Madison University. He will join JMU on July 1st, 2026.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe to hear more stories about how members of the JMU community are being the change. Dive deeper and explore countless other stories at jmu.edu/Madison Magazine. Go Dukes!
The Being the Change podcast was conceived by Jim Heffernan, editor of Madison Magazine, and me, Andy Perrine, head of JMU Marketing. Thanks to Jenna Polk and her team at the Rose Library Studios, where the show is recorded by Cody Troyer, Steve Adderton, and Olive Santos, all of the crazy talented JMU photo video team, who then produced the final episodes at the Ice House in downtown Harrisonburg. Original music by 2019 alumnus Neil Perrine. You can find the Being the Change podcast on all the popular platforms where we hope you'll like, share, and subscribe.